AMD stock is up over 112% year to date in 2025. And of course, I'm happy about that because I've been recommending AMD stock as a buy almost all year long. And I had it recommended as one of the best stocks to buy in the first half of the year and for all of 2024. And the discussion around AMD for the previous year before this year had been, why is it trailing Nvidia by so much? When is AMD going to catch up anywhere near Nvidia? There was a lot of frustration around AMD. Investors were even calling it advanced money destroyer because it had been trailing the performance of Nvidia and the semiconductor stock index by so significant of margins. But I'm happy to see that the stock price is finally reflecting the intrinsic value I identified with AMD a couple of years back. So in this video, I'm going to talk about the latest developments and what's going on with AMD stock so we can understand more what's driving the success of this AI company.
I want to thank the Motley Fool for sponsoring this video. Visit fool.com/Parkev for the 10 best stocks to buy now.
So in its most recently completed quarter, the CEO highlighted the revenue increased 36% year over year to 9.2 billion, while net income increased by 31% and free cash flow more than tripled, led by record levels of EPYC, Ryzen, and Instinct processor sales. So these are products that go into CPUs, these are products that go into servers, and these are products that go into the data centers optimized for artificial intelligence. And AMD is gaining market share in each of those categories. Most significantly, it's gaining market share in the data center market optimized for AI because it has such a small market share in that category compared to the market share it has in other categories like gaming and CPUs. But the newer products it's launching in the data center market is allowing it to gain meaningful market share. Remember, this is a category where NVIDIA boasts an estimated 80 to 92% market share. So there's a lot of room for AMD to grow in this market, and they're demonstrating a capability to absorb that opportunity. Hyperscalers like Amazon, Microsoft, and Meta Platforms and Alphabet are giving AMD a chance because, as I mentioned earlier, NVIDIA has way too large of a market share in that category for comfort. These hyperscalers don't like that they depend so much on NVIDIA, and so they're going to give alternative businesses a chance, and AMD right now is that alternative, is that second place that's getting the opportunity. It's getting the handoff, and it's their ball to fumble. So as long as they can just get the football, carry it forward a few yards and not fumble, they're going to keep getting the handoff. They're going to keep getting that opportunity because of that dependence on NVIDIA. And so AMD has done a good job. They don't need to do an excellent job. They just need to do a good job. And they've done that. And they've developed a great product that can fill that need for second place. And they've continued to develop that product and build next generation iterations that builds on the success of the first generation. So turning to their segment reports, their data segment revenue increased 22% year over year to 4.3 billion, led by the ramp of their latest accelerated GPU, the MI350. And of course, they're gaining market share because this product is going into more of these data centers optimized for AI. Also, what investors are liking about the business now is 4.3 billion out of the total 9.2 billion is coming from the data center market. This is a market that boasts a much larger profit margin compared to its legacy segments like gaming or personal computers. Its operating profit margin, if you compare to NVIDIA boasts a gross profit margin around 75%. And roughly all of NVIDIA's revenue is now coming from this data center market. And if you compare that with AMD's operating profit margin over the previous decade, it's never gone over 22%. And so now it's operating in a category that's much more lucrative and it's growing revenue in a category that generates much better profitability. And so investors are hopeful that the company's profit margin will increase along with its revenue over the next several years. And in fact, when AMD held the investor conference yesterday, they highlighted that they expect their operating profit margins to jump to roughly 35% over the next 3 to 5 years. That would be a huge improvement from the previous decade where they never ever boasted an operating margin above 22% for any trailing 12-month period. And so that's a big upgrade for AMD stock investors. So hyperscalers launched more than 160 instances of its of servers based on the EPYC powered servers, and including the new Turin offerings from Google, Microsoft, Azure, Alibaba, and others that deliver unmatched performance and price performance across a wide range of workloads. This is nearly a 50% increase from a year ago. So they are gaining market share in this category. Looking ahead, they remain on track to launch their next generation 2 nanometer Venice EPYC processors in 2026. Remember, 2 nanometer refers to the technology that's produced by Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Company. They've really innovated in this category. The lower the nanometer number, the greater the technology. And 2 nanometer is the lowest nanometer technology right now. It's the latest and greatest from Taiwan Semiconductor. I believe NVIDIA is still on the 3 nanometer technology, while they are also upgrading to better and newer versions. And so this is going to be the cutting edge of cutting edge technology when AMD launches this product next year. And for their other products too, AMD is matching NVIDIA. Remember, NVIDIA said they plan to launch next generation products every year instead of every 2 years as before. AMD recently said they're going to match that cadence also. They're also going to go with 1 year upgrade cycles for their products. And this constant innovation creates more demand because it creates new possibilities and new innovations. And so this positive virtuous cycle is still in the very early stages for artificial intelligence development. Remember, ChatGPT was only launched in late 2022. And so it's only been a few years where we've had this large language model and the hundreds of millions of consumers that are now using these large language models. And the more we advance the technology, the more consumers it's going to bring in and therefore drive more growth in the industry. Still very early stages and lots of growth ahead. So we can begin to understand the success that's driving the stock price improvement for AMD stock. It's been a fundamental improvement in the business that's leading to the increases in the stock price. Hey, if you value my process for researching stocks, I think you'll appreciate access to my spreadsheet containing my discounted cash flow valuations, which calculate a fair value for over 200 companies. It answers the question, what's a good price to pay for a certain stock? You can get access by joining our channel at the investor tier or above. See the link in the description or click the join button below to learn more.